we're somewhat new at the Canadian Forest Service to wood identification, but we do feel we've come quite a long way in the 2 years since we organized a focused wood identification activity. And we'd like to present today on what we're going to be working on in our next 3-year phase of the project itself. So the main focus, as you can see from the slide here, is exotic species, but our new project will also include a native species component. So why native? Well, we talked about this a little earlier in this meeting. To address the deficit we face of access to vouchered CITES listed species samples that are available to develop ID methods, we want to make strategic use of our local expertise, of our georeference genomic data sets, and pre-species collections located across Canada. So we have accumulated over decades of genomic projects and extensive data collection of Canadian native species with georeference data, coupled with vouchered wood samples from Canadian species collected specifically for the project we're beginning. We will test, validate, and improve wood ID methods currently under development in Canada and internationally. And we believe our native temperate forest resources will also be of interest to wood ID scientists elsewhere on the globe, and will contribute to comparative studies between laboratories to make robust methods available for legal analysis. So I'd like to describe some of the objectives of our program. So the first objective is to contribute to a global open source database of georeference wood samples that will include national and international collections. In parallel, we hope to acquire new exotic species wood specimens to add to our existing collection of physical reference samples for Canadian species. So with that in mind, we are seeking to acquire more samples of priority exotic species, such as Delbridgia and other CITES listed species that are in trade in Canada. And we will be adding for this project to our native species collection through new sampling campaigns using the GTTN sampling guide. So our next objective is to optimize and standardize scientific protocols along the wood ID chain within Canada and with other countries. So this includes the development of new wood identification techniques and their cross-validation. So using our native species data, we will develop standardized protocols following the testing of various types of samples and assess the impacts of wood sampling heterogeneity on chemical profiling results, such as age, location of a sampled section, and environmental signals. This will help us determine if sample processing can produce replicable results with minimum requirements around quality and quantity of results. To build a robust database that will provide strong scientific evidence, we will verify the convergence of chemotyping information, colorimetric screening methods, wood anatomy, image recognition, and genomic data on various sources of wood samples. So in our first 2 years, we acquired a DART MS system, but we found it was not compatible with our existing QTOF mass spectrometer. And additionally, wood extracts from the samples we were using caused calibration issues within the system. As a result, we are currently unable to work with the United States Fish and Wildlife Mass Spectral Library. But we have developed another method using a gas chromatography quadrupole time of flight mass spectrometer, which currently requires an initial screening tool since its use requires pre-knowledge of the sample being examined. We have developed a field test using these methods for enforcement officers to screen wood from Delbridgia species. And we believe that the GC-QTOF approach can be a reliable and non-destructive method. It's a technology that's used widely by environmental labs around the world. So we're testing it with our vouchered native species samples, and additionally, we have started building an exotic species database. And with that, I'm going to hand off the presentation to my colleague, Virginie. We don't hear you.
Okay, sorry everybody, I had trouble unmuting myself. Okay, we'll start the presentation again. Okay, so regarding our objective of training, networking, and outreach, we have trained 50 wildlife enforcement officers, customs officers, phytosanitary officers as well. We'll continue also developing, oh boy, good God. We're going to continue developing our two screening tools. So we've developed a field ID guide for exotic woods found in Canada. And it uses very simple methods like smell, um, the touch, different the color in ethanol, different techniques that really don't require wood anatomy expertise. So our field enforcement officers are really excited about that, and we're looking to finish it and publish it in the coming months, hopefully. And then we've developed a field screening kit for the common Dalbergia species that we have. It's very practical, and it's to help feed also in the GCQ TOF. So the colorimetric test needs further validation with more species. But again, the officers are really excited that we're going to supply them with a kit that is very easy for them to use just as a screening tool. Okay, now the slide that you've seen a lot. We've been very inspired by the study that's here on the screen and that Megan was a co-author that was done in the US about fraud and misrepresentation in retail forest products in the US. So we're doing our kind of mini version of that study. So we bought 280 products made of wood in the retail market. And what we're doing is validating the accuracy of the labeling of retail wood products. And then finally, we like to call our team in Canada working on Wood ID as the Canadian network of Wood ID expertise. So our other objective is, as you know, working with groups and networks to continue bolster our network with improved Wood ID and border control processes, protocols, collaborations within the responsible agencies in Canada. All that with the goal to raise the profile within the Government of Canada of Wood ID and stay connected amongst us and also with external collaborators. And that's why we're very pleased to have the opportunity to share our work with you, and we wish to continue contributing to the GTTN. Thank you.